Today we're going to make a 3D football from this full-size pattern file that is attached. First I'll show you how to use this sort of pattern, and then I'll come back and show you how you have to adjust it to work just right at any size on any machine, any material, with or without kerf compensation. What you have to do is adjust the notch width and possibly the depth to come out just right for your machine and material. So you basically have to do some test cuts to determine what size this notch needs to be drawn to wind up with a good fit on the chosen material. For now I'm just going to use it this size, and the notches are 0.09 wide and 0.015 deeper than the center line, which would be about right for 14 gauge material. And in that case, the finished football will weigh about 11 pounds. The first thing I would want to do is save this file to a new name and delete all of this. And then the lace is optional. You could just cut it out and weld it along the top of this center spine here, but I'm going to make a little notch for it. The material is about 0.07 thick, so I'm going to offset to the inside 0.08 inches. And I only need this little segment of that shape, so I'm going to draw a rectangle along the bottom of that segment. And then I'm going to scale that out big enough to trim the bottom, which leaves me with the little segment that I wanted. And I want to use that to trim the edge of this shape, so I need to rearrange that shape a little bit. I'm going to get the node tool and add a couple of nodes. So now I can use it to trim that red shape. But I'm not going to do that now because I need two of these red shapes, one with and one without that notch. So once I have that and my notches adjusted to the right size, I can go ahead and start making the pattern. I'll just get these three notches and that shape and duplicate, and then these 5 notches and this shape and duplicate, and all 7 notches and this shape and duplicate. And then I need all of the notches and this shape and this shape and duplicate. And then I'm going to just grab these notches and trim these shapes. I'm going to duplicate that one and trim this one. And then I need 4 each of these, so I'm going to duplicate and space those out. 2 copies of that. And delete that. And that should be ready to cut. Except if you're not using curve compensation, this here will come out a little thin, so you might want to offset that to the outside 0.5 inches, say. And fillet that. And that actually made it a little bit longer, so you might want to just shorten it up a little bit. That's only if you're not using curve compensation, which causes it to cut way inside of the line, kind of like this. And if you did not manually apply curve compensation, the part would come out looking like this instead of like this white area, which it should be. This would be the pattern you would cut, but for maximum consistency, if you have all the notches pointed in the same direction, they'll all come out more the same. So now let's just go back and look how we would want to adjust the notches before we get started in order for it to come out just right on any machine. You can scale the pattern any size you want, or not scale it at all. But in either case, you need to make some test cuts in your material at your speed with your machine to determine exactly how wide you need to draw these notches to fit that material. Because at different speeds and different material, you will have different amounts of taper, and whether or not you use curve compensation and how accurately you have curve compensation set for that material and that speed all affects how wide you would want to draw those notches to fit correctly when cut. And if you scale this up a lot, or you have a lot of taper in your material, you might want to move these notches to the left or right 5 or 10 thousandths, because the mating material will have a taper on the edge. And that is why you can't draw these notches to the exact same width as the material. Because of the taper, the notch will actually be smaller than it is drawn. So it is best to make some test cuts and get that notch size just right for your material and cut speed so that it fits together not too tight and not too loose. So basically, once you determine how wide those notches need to be, and after you scale the pattern, then you just go along and scale those notches vertically. So only after you scale it to size and adjust the notch size would you copy all those parts out and trim the notches like I did earlier. If you don't do all that, then you're just guessing, and it may or may not work. especially if you don't use curve compensation. You will have to drastically adjust the notch width for it to come out the right size when cut. Anyway, that's all for now. I'll see you next time.